activities we've done other things in support of ensuring that our diaspora is together and having more impact. So mine was not really to make any speeches, it was just to really welcome Balozi, but before that I wanted to give a chance to Ambassador Kwaka so that maybe he can be able to invite Balozi, who we really love a lot. So Ambassador Kwaka, this time, Big Ted, people want to hear you. Thank you so much.
I'll go back and sit, you clap again, bwana. Can you guys clap as if yani you love me or something? So wacha nikae pale nirudi tena mpige makofi vizuri. Yeah, excuse me sir, excuse me. Please clap bwana. I've worked hard bwana. Pigeni makofi ni kama mnanipenda bwana. Asante, asante sana. Yeah, alafu mnapiga makofi mpaka nifike hapo bwana. Professor Choti haujapiga makofi na hiyo ni makosa bwana. Yeah. Lazima mpige makofi ni kama mnanipenda bwana. Hata kama mnipendi bwana. Wachiuri pige kofi ya milionea, hiyo ni ya billion. All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming out to oversee a great step. A great move always begins with one step, and it must be inspired by something. Can you imagine the children of Israel before they stepped into the water, what the thought was in everybody's mind? And I'm a Christian, according to the Bible, it says that as they walked is what the water opened. So the more you step in, the more it opens. All right? I love antique cars. And I have a very old Mercedes in Kenya. It's very many years old. But my first car was a VW Beetle. And this car, ilinisumbua. Have you guys had a car that ikifika unaenda kwa harusi ama kwa function, lazima uende na mechanic? Where your mechanic becomes your friend. So unaambia mechanic ni Friday, twende. So mechanic anakuja na tools. Anajua gari itafanya nini? Itaharibika. At some point nikachoka, nikasema hii gari wachana nayo, I don't care about this car anymore. I threw the car away. I never forget, it was KGT. But one day, I was walking somewhere in some garages. I like looking for old things. And I saw KGT in a park. It was spoiled, imebondeka, nini. Somebody had tried to make it. Ilikuwa ni kama inaenda, ni kama, you know, it looks like the bottom was up. And I looked at the car and I said, you know what? This is my first love. I'm going to take this car. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do everything that it needs because it is the car, the first car that I had. Ladies and gentlemen, that car is one of the most beautiful Beetles you'll ever see in your life. Because I had faith in it, even when everybody had given up on it. When the mechanics had tried, you know, gari ambayo iko na engine inaitwa nguruwe. Engine iko na part ya kila gari. Ya lori, nini, exhaust ni ya Fiat, ni ya you know, everything. But I said, I will make this car to be the best car that can ever be. Because I fell in love with my car again. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful story, but it calls you to fall in love with the things that mean the most to you again. I'm calling Kenyans in the diaspora to fall in love with Kenya again. This Kenya that you talk about, this Kenya that you almost are about to give up on, this Kenya that the only thing you do is remittance. This is the Kenya I'm calling you to to fall in love and invest in again. Because this is all that you have. This is the soil of your forefathers. They're buried there. So to the Kenyans in the diaspora, this is my plea to you. Let us learn to talk the right things about our country. Our country is not in doldrums. Do not paint that picture. There have been 6,200 shootings in a country. But you ask about security in a country that has not had any shooting. You wait outside a building for 10 hours to get a visa. But when you come to the consulate for 1 hour, it becomes a problem on social media. You don't care about the passport that we give or the opportunities that we offer. But how comes the country that you live in are dying to come back to Africa? Why are they buying tracts of land in Africa? Why are they bothering Optiven and ANG and soil to buy acres of land? The same country you think is not worth it is actually worth it to somebody. The Nigerians say what you're looking for in Sokoto is inside your Mokoto, which is your pocket. Kenya is the land of promise. Kenya is the land of hope. And you will remember my words in 10 years' time. Kenya is the land of the future. Fall in love with Kenya again. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome my senior, His Excellency the Ambassador for Kenya in America and running the DC Consulate. Give it up for Ambassador Lazarus Amayo.
Thank you very much, and please be seated. I hope the mic is okay. Asante sana. Dr. Chiuri na waheshimiwa wabunge ambao wako hapa pamoja na sisi, akanisi Mheshimiwa Gichimi Gidinji, Gichimu Gidinji, the MP for Gishugu. We had quite a number of colleagues of his also here a moment ago. The leadership of the Global Diaspora One Voice Consortium, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is now around 8:15 and you've been very attentive from this morning, listening and participating in conversations that have been going on. I don't intend to take you for too long, but allow me first to begin by thanking Dr. Chiuri and the organizers for this noble idea of hosting this expo that has given you and I an opportunity to meet here and engage in discussions that are useful to you as the diaspora, to Kenya as a country, and to economic interests that you and I have, and the vital role that the diaspora plays in promotion of trade and investment between Kenya and the United States. And so mine is to thank you, the organizers, and at the same time to thank you, all the participants, for responding. If invitations had been sent to you and you didn't respond, we'll not be having a function here today. And let me also commend the sponsors that have made it possible for Dr. Chiuri and the team to come up with this important initiative. I cannot forget to acknowledge also in our midst, apart from Mheshimiwa, to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues. Ambassador Kwaka has already been introduced, but Ambassador Wanjoi, do I see Ambassador Wanjoi? The lights are Yes, Ambassador Anne Wanjoy is my colleague and the Director for Culture at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She has come all the way to join you in this function and also to participate at the function that will be taking place in DC tomorrow. What they call the DC passport is an opportunity where diplomatic missions accredited to the United States have an opportunity to exhibit and showcase what happens in their countries. And so Kenya has been an active participant. It's a coincidence you'll be having a function here that will also go ahead. Some of us will be able to attend to both of them. Dr. Chiuri talked about collaboration that occurred between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services. Some of you would recall that early last year, His Excellency the President had talked about the need for, actually in response to the plea from the diaspora, to get diaspora more prominence in the government. When he formed the cabinet, he created for the first time the State Department of Diaspora Services. And a good number of you would also recall that during the meeting in December, the President had asked the ministries to be able to think out of the box and see how best the diaspora can be served much closer to where they are. And I must take this opportunity to thank PS Diaspora, Madam Roslyn Jogu, and PS Dr. Bitok, the PS Immigration and Citizen Services, for having thought it wise, in collaboration with the embassy in DC and the consulate in Los Angeles and consulate in LA, to stage what was conducted for almost 3 weeks, the mobile consular outreach program, in which we cannot forget Dr. Chiuri and Global One Voice, the Diaspora One Voice Consortium, who offered to partner with the embassy and the consulate in reaching out to you, the diaspora, to come out as volunteers to facilitate the exercise of helping the embassy to facilitate processing of passports and identity cards. I cannot forget, because I witnessed quite a number of them, in person and also virtually, how you came out in large numbers to assist. Even filling of forms are not that easy. And with IT these days, it doesn't have to go with the degrees. You'll remember, and forgive me for that, you could go to a station and find a good number that had difficulties in filling their forms. But you bring in some of the volunteers who are in their early 20s and 30s, within 5 minutes, what had disturbed the old man for 3 days, the young ones were able to resolve and have them ready for processing of passports and applications. This is important because, take for example those from Texas. I'm not biased about Texas, but this evening, if it were to go by vote, I think there are more from Texas than any other state here. If I'm lying, can those from Texas raise up their hands or stand up, we see? All those are from Texas, and I've had the privilege of meeting with them both in Dallas and in Houston. Karibuni sana. If you're to come all the way from Texas to DC with your spouse or children to apply and get the biometrics done for passport, or fingerprinting for IDs. Air ticket maybe what, $400, $500? Then you get accommodation. You've lost also the full day's work. It's pretty expensive. And so this exercise has been useful. We only hope, Mheshimiwa Githinji, that in the future the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Immigration would be facilitated budget-wise to have it as a regular occurrence, where at least in stations you know that whether it is once a year or twice a year or in which stations, so that people don't have to spend huge sums of money on traveling and accommodation to get these services. In this regard, we are happy to announce that 3,000 applications were processed for new generation passports, and 1,300 ID card applications were also processed. And thanks to the Kenyan diaspora community volunteers under the leadership of Dr. Chiuri and the team that were able to mobilize and come out and worked very closely. I cannot forget also to thank the team. Ambassador Kwaka will tell you that the embassy staff, both in LA, in New York, in DC, working with the volunteers. If you take, for example, in Seattle, twice they were on duty. They worked throughout the night until 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning. And so I give them a great pat on the back for the dedication and commitment to serving you. We hope, and I've made recommendations, that the diaspora and the US should be given special consideration, because you are the largest in terms of numbers. You're the largest in terms of numbers, largest in terms of contributions, even contributions beyond remittances. I know many have spoken about remittances. It's a story we continue to talk about, that of the 4 billion that Kenya received in 2022 from the diaspora, 60% were actually from the diaspora in the United States. But as he said, it's not only remittances, whether it is in promotion of trade and investment, promotion of Kenya as a tourist destination, the number of tourists that you've been able, your friends that you've gone to Kenya with, transfer of skills, and many other issues in which our diaspora here are involved in. Remittances are good, but please go beyond remittances. We'd like you to invest in Kenya so that tomorrow your children can also have something to link them up with Kenya. Even the remittances we're talking about today is quite relevant and will be there as long as this generation that were born in Kenya are here. Because you still have close ties with your parents, with your uncles, with your sisters, with your brothers. You're sending them money to support them. But those that are now grandparents here, you know some of your children are beginning to ask, why are you sending money to your uncle? Why is he not working? You are aware of that. Now the second generation will be different. Oh, Mheshimiwa siku moja, I didn't see you, poleni. I only saw the other side. Mheshimiwa pia wako pande hii na senators, karibuni sana. So it is important that we provide what would tomorrow still make your children and grandchildren to go to Kenya because there's a connection, so that we can continue to receive even the remittances you're talking about. The government of the Republic of Kenya acknowledges your great contribution and will continue to partner with you to make services much closer. It may not be possible to open consulates as anticipated before in all the centers that were desired, but directive of course was given to find the best ways of making it possible for Kenyans in the diaspora, particularly here in the United States, to get services much closer to them. We are looking forward to that, and we can always count on you for this great support. At government level, relations between Kenya and the United States are great, warm, cordial, broad-based, and these days we have structured engagements every year we meet under what is called the bilateral strategic dialogue that evaluates, looks at relations between Kenya and the United States, looking at the 5 bigger pillars: the pillar of economic prosperity or economic pillar, the pillar of defense, the pillar on democracy, governance, and civilian security, the pillar on regional and multilateral cooperation, and the 5th one, the pillar on health. Not forgetting to say that the US still remains our largest bilateral partner on matters health. And you do remember that whether it is HIV and AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and reduction of infant and maternal mortalities, these are areas in which Kenya and the United States have had very close collaboration, and we thank them for it, in as much as we also are in the process of increasing our budgetary allocation to take care of health matters. And so we have good, warm, bilateral political relations with the US. And I could not forget to borrow a leaf from Ambassador Kwaka and the manner in which he ably presented it. There may be a few challenges, but there's no country without a challenge. Let us continue to embrace Kenya, provide advice and counsel that you give, so that we can be able to improve that country for this generation and generations to come. Na jinsi pia tunayo Biblia, mwingine alisema ya kwamba there are 66 books in the Bible, 39 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New. Try to read all the books. The others that may be very sweet to read, but don't over-concentrate in the book called Lamentations. There are other books also, ukiyasoma hiyo, supplement with others, help us as a government, as a country, also with suggestions, lessons that you are learning from here. Hata nyumba ukija na design ambayo imetoka hapa and you give it to Optiven, right? Hata sura itakuwa tofauti because it has come from, we like variety. We welcome what comes from out, but we are proud of Kenya. Put it this way. Just take the last 3 months alone. How many heads of state and government have visited Kenya? The last 5 days alone, you had the Chancellor of Germany visiting Kenya, the Prime Minister of Japan visiting Kenya, the entire UN system, from Secretary General to all heads of UN organizations were in Nairobi. So, okay, you may have one or few challenging things, but others still have some respect for us. And America hapa would trust you more than the diplomats because you live with them. So your word is very useful in supporting our work. I still say, when it comes to tourism, we cannot underplay the contribution of the diaspora. Even when travel advisories were given earlier, when they were adverse, you were still able to go with friends to Kenya. And those friends were able to make repeat visits after you had taken them, because now they know the country. If the advisory says don't go to such a point, they are able to know that kumbe, where I would like to go is not affected, so the insurance will still cover my part. And so, to cut the long story short, because today was supposed to just to declare the meeting opened, although the meeting is really 40% done, may I once again take the opportunity to thank the Kenyan diaspora and the leadership of Global Diaspora One Voice Consortium for this initiative. This is by this diaspora organization the embassy partners with the diaspora under several formations. It is not exclusive to Global Diaspora One Voice Consortium. Kenyan diaspora organizations are many, but the Global Diaspora One Voice Consortium has had a greater network of reaching out. What we'd like to say is that it does not stop, because sometimes you know the Kenyans, and the Kenyans we are multi-party. Somebody say, kwa nini ya Chiuri peke yake? No, we have no problem. If you have another one also that we can be able to partner with to provide services and satisfy the needs of the diaspora, ni sawa. But we must commend them for the great work that they have done. Last but not least, on the trade side, we have had very good engagements with the United States to promote economic relations. We are currently, as you're aware, trading with the United States under AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunities Act, which is supposed to expire in 2025, but there are discussions to have it extended. Kenya is actually rated to be one of the major exporters under the AGOA provisions. But Kenya decided, as you could recall a few years ago, that as a non-LDC country, for continuity, yes, we'll be able to trade with AGOA, but if in case AGOA is not renewed, we should still be having a framework under which we can continue to grow our trade and investment with the United States, stemming from the premise that the United States has actually emerged as our largest export destination after overtaking Uganda. 10% of our exports are to the United States, but the potential is much greater than what we're having at the moment. And so our desire and the reason why we are supporting this event is to help create awareness that can be able to help us increase the volume of trade, increase the value of our bilateral trade, and to diversify the products that currently is being traded between Kenya and the United States. Other details we should be able to talk on another day, but for now, let me say asanteni sana. Since the conference is continuing, tomorrow we'll be able to get the statement also by the PS Diaspora during the keynote address in the evening, where we are also expecting representatives from the USTR, United States Trade Representative, and the World Bank in support of this particular program. And so let me not preempt what is supposed to come tomorrow, but once again, we thank the organizers, thank the participants, and please do network. There is a large stream of people from different fields. Even if you take insurance, you have Lawrence there. Optiven, with not Optiven real estate. His is insurance. And he has managed with Sigma to have so many embassies that are under the arrangements here. We were joking the other time with Attorney Opande. When I was visiting that state some time back, some of our own fellows Kenyans were saying it's important to know the number of Laban Opande, because if for some reason, even if it was a traffic offense and you were told to surrender your vehicle and come aboard, when they give you a chance to make one phone call, you should at least remember the phone call of your attorney, your lawyer, because you need the lawyer to get you out. And then the joke came with it, that before we used to memorize numbers, or we used to write them in notebooks. These days, a large number of us have lost the power of remembering or memorizing the phone numbers of even our very close relatives because they are in the phone. Sasa ukinyang'anywa simu na uambiwe piga simu ya mtu mmoja ambao unaweza kumbuka na kichwa. Test yourself. Please make sure you have the numbers of your spouses, your children, your best friends. Ili ukinyang'anywa simu, at least you can still be able to get somebody to get to know where you are. Kwa haya machache na Mungu wabariki na tuonane kesho, God willing. And we wish you the best. Now, we look forward to engaging with you much further another day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you all. One more time, please. Thank you. So, and the ambassador will be here again. He will continue to support. And so what I wanted, something that I've been getting a beating on, is that most of our connection has been live today, and we never even acknowledged KTR TV. So KTR TV. So I just actually so they will continue to support us. And now Dr. Shuri. So you can go ahead and.
All right. Thank you, Balozi. Thank you, all our guests. We are about now to get into another area of just relaxing, networking. We have a cash bar open, so relax. Those who want a drink, our DJ, together with our